Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell bringing you WealthWise 2025 Week 30. I'm the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies and your success strategist. And today we are talking about diversifying for a disrupted world, smart asset strategies for volatile times. Our theme today is building resilience by designing a diversified, agile financial strategy that can adapt to global instability. It's week 30, and you're diving into one of the most crucial pillars of long-term financial success, and that's resilient diversification. And the way we're framing that is future fit finance, building wealth in an uncertain world, because you deserve to have foresight-driven wealth as a strategy. This isn't your grandfather's or your grandmother's 60-40 split or a rehash of don't put all your eggs in one basket. We're talking today about how to structure wealth in a world that feels like it's one black swan away from another tailspin. Pandemics, check. Wars, check. AI disruptions, check. Political unrest, check. Interest rate shocks, check. Tariff shocks, check. How do you not just survive this new economic terrain, but use it to your advantage? So let's talk about adaptive diversification, your personal hedge against a world in flux. And that's starting with forecasting your financial future, because it isn't just for governments and corporations, it's a tool for wealth builders. So here's how you can apply it to your life. Most investors are familiar with the classic model, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Toss in some real estate, maybe an ETF or two, and voila, diversified, right? Well, not exactly, because in volatile, interconnected global markets, traditional asset classes can correlate unexpectedly. In 2022, both stocks and bonds took a nosedive. Gold didn't offer its usual safe harbor, and even cash lost purchasing power to inflation. That's why we needed to rethink not just what we diversify into, but how and why. Today's diversification must go beyond sectors and geographies. It needs to cover risk types, time horizons, and liquidity levels. So we need to look at inflation, liquidity, geopolitical issues, currency issues, cybersecurity issues. Are we looking at short-term safety versus long-term growth? And what can be, from a liquidity perspective, be accessed quickly during a crunch? So what's the new, how do we approach this? Well, we approach it through trend analysis, scenario planning, and backcasting. We need to identify slow-moving but high-impact shifts, i.e. climate risk insurance, longevity economics, digitized tax systems. We need to ask what-if questions around all that's going on, your organization, your industry, your portfolio, and your family economics. And then we need to start from your 2035 or 2040 vision and work backwards to define today's move. Try creating a foresight journal where you log economic headlines, personal reactions, and long-term implications. So how do we go about building a modern diversified portfolio? Well, first we need to understand the signals of change that might matter most to your wallet. To be able to build resilient wealth, we need to track shifts in customer behavior, policy changes, etc. So Are there clients that are preferring subscriptions over one-time services? Are there new retirement rules, crypto taxes, ESG reporting requirements? Are other things impacting your investment tailoring given your personal values? And are you aligning your wealth with purpose so that you can also mitigate reputational or regulatory risk? We need to look at that through the lens of a holistic diversification framework. And so here's what modern portfolios are including: core assets, very foundational, broad index funds, both domestic and global, bonds, but with a smart approach, floating rate, short duration, real estate investment trusts, carefully selected by geography and sector, defensive assets. So these are used to offset shocks, cash and tips, gold, commodities and inflation hedges, municipal bonds, or cash flow generating properties and or equities, which pay ongoing dividends. Then in the growth and innovation assets, we can do some long-term plays: AI, green energy, robotics, biotech ETFs, etc., or specific equities, global small caps, and thematic funds like cybersecurity and digital infrastructure. Then we need to look at the global and frontier markets. Consider non-traditional geographies with rising middle classes or strategic resources, i.e., perhaps Vietnam, UAE, Brazil. These markets may and oftentimes do offer non-correlated growth to the US and EU economies. Lastly, alternative and digital assets. We're not recommending a crypto portfolio, but consider perhaps, an entire massive crypto portfolio, but consider private equity or VC funds for those accredited investors, blockchain-based real estate or tokenized assets. And you can also select specific crypto exposure through ETFs. Next is through values-driven allocations. And that, again, is investing according to your personal values, because we want you to align your wealth with purpose and make sure that you are making the right choices for what matters most to your organization, your family, and yourself. So let's talk about what additional things we need to be thinking about. And that's future-proofing our wealth pipeline, because wealth systems should and can not only survive, but thrive through change. So we want to look at redundancies, where we have multiple streams of income, active and passive. We need to look at digital resilience, automate tax tracking, bookkeeping, and portfolio updates using AI tools. Look at sustainable investing. ESG and green infrastructure funds are not just ethical, they're often very much future aligned. And last is learning capital. Budget for annual skill upgrades, AI tools, future of work platforms, and global markets. Here's where foresight meets finance. We can track the signals of disruption that are occurring out in the world so that you can help shift your wealth pipeline, perhaps percentages or your overall portfolio. Again, we want to look at going where volume is. What are the consumer shifts that are occurring? Where are spending habits changing? Is there a prior generations values that are coming into more play within our society across the globe. We want to be watching policy changes, tax law, crypto regulations, ESG requirements. We want to look at technology accelerants. What tools are automating industries and reshaping our workforce and labor force across the globe? We want to be looking at geopolitical movements. What new alliances are forming and what's the risk landscape around those? And lastly, what are the resource bottlenecks that geographies are experiencing with energy, water, bandwidth, power, etc.? Where are the vulnerabilities? So pro tip is to create a resilience radar for your business, for yourself, for your family, for your community that tracks those trends very closely. Now let's look at agility beats prediction. We don't need a crystal ball to thrive in volatility. We need a playbook for adaptability. That means rebalancing your portfolios quarterly, if not more, not just annually. Keeping a portion of your wealth liquid and opportunity ready, using scenario planning. What if inflation surges again? What if a recession hits? What if AI cuts 40% of your industry workforce? Build your what if muscle. Think in terms of optionality, not certainties. So the risk of no risk is to say that playing it too safe is its own risk. Keeping everything in savings may feel secure, but it erodes your capability for momentum growth over time due to inflation. Instead of hoarding cash or avoiding markets after every dip, diversify with intelligence and intention. Be diversified across risk levels, liquidity levels, geographies, time horizons, and innovation exposure. So our reflection challenge today is, what major financial event from the past 5 years caught you off guard? Was it COVID, inflation spike, tech layoffs, tariff drop? What would you do differently the next time? What's one class of assets that you have ignored, maybe out of fear, confusion, or habit? Is it international investing, a specific sector like energy or digital infrastructure? Or is it investing in yourself via education, skills, or coaching? Our action challenge this week is to help you overcome these by building out a 2035 wealth vision map. What do you want your net worth, income sources, and lifestyle to look like in 2035 or 2040 or 2050? What financial risks could potentially derail it, and how are you going to mitigate them? And what 3 signals will you monitor monthly to make sure that you stay adaptive? Sketch out that wealth diversification map using your core, defensive, growth, global, alternatives, and value aligned layers. Color code where you're overweight, underweight, or uncertain. Then ask, what does this map tell me about my readiness for disruption? You don't have to predict the next crisis. You just need to prepare so well that no single crisis can collapse your foundation. Diversification isn't just a strategy, it's an act of courage and clarity. So lead your wealth like a futurist. Future doesn't just favor the bold, it favors the prepared. In a world of accelerating change, your greatest asset isn't just your portfolio, it's your perspective. Plan long, act smart, stay curious, because your 2035 self is counting on you, making the right moves now. Join us next week where we'll talk about wealth through collaboration, the rise of investment circles, DAOs, and peer financing. Explore how modern communities are pooling capital, knowledge, and purpose to build collective prosperity. Again, this is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies, and your success strategist. Find out more about us at https://wealthwave.com/Rhonda Farrell.